This is Aging by the Bay, brought to you by A Place for Seniors and ComForCare Home Care. Aging by the Bay is here to provide families in the San Francisco Bay Area pertinent information about healthy aging practices and services. Your host is Ajay Saini of ComForCare Home Care.
Good morning and welcome everyone to Aging by the Bay, where we provide families in the San Francisco Bay Area relevant information about healthy aging practices and services. I'm your host, Ajay Saini from ComForCare Home Care. At Aging by the Bay, we talk about joys and some of the challenges of growing older in the Bay Area. We talk to experts about what they see happening as people age, as well as the services that are available that you or your loved ones may not be aware of. First of all, I want to thank our sponsor, A Place for Seniors, who specializes in helping seniors find residential care homes, assisted living facilities, and memory care assistance. You can contact them directly at 1-800-850-9102. Their website is www.aloveforseniors.com. And again, their number is 1-800-850-9102. Today, I'm extremely excited to have two very inspiring guests on the show. As a matter of fact, besides the knowledge that they will share, there are really valuable life lessons for all of us. So, I would like to introduce Dan Dumas and Jerry Rainey from Sci-Fit. Before we go into what Sci-Fit is, let me speak briefly about Dan. Dan is the owner, founder, and CEO of Sci-Fit, and he continues to push Sci-Fit to provide overwhelming neuropopulation improvement support, and he currently has 3 locations: Pleasanton, Sacramento, and Fresno. Jerry, he is the CEO of Sci-Fit and a neuroexercise therapist and has over 15 years of experience working with various neurological disorders, that is stroke, spinal cord injury, MS, cerebral palsy, traumatic brain injury, and many other things. So, please, before we go into the details, I want to welcome to the show and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, AJ.
So, Dan, first time when I read on the website about your story, it really made me feel like, I almost had goosebumps, like saying that, okay, you had such a nice perspective. But I won't do any justice if I talk about that. I will let you speak about your, 2005, the whole story, how you came up with this idea and everything.
Okay, yeah. I appreciate that. I don't think my story's any greater or less than anybody else's, but I'll tell you about mine. 2005, I was in Hawaii with my wife and a couple friends of ours. First day there. Mm-hmm. And it was high surf that day, and my wife and her girlfriend were out shopping, and my buddy and I were on the beach. We decided to go swimming, and I wandered out in the ocean, and a wave hit me and toppled me over, and I was about chest high in water, and it toppled me over, and I hit my head either on a rock or on the bottom of the ocean or something, and broke my neck. And so spinal cord injury, C5 level, which is around your chin area. Mm-hmm. I was instantly paralyzed from the shoulders down and face down the water. My friend that was with me noticed that I wasn't right and came over and turned me over and as gently as he could and took me to shore. Right. Otherwise, I would have drowned. And that started the road. And so I remember telling my friend when I was on the shore that I couldn't move and knew there was a problem.
Right.
And they took me by ambulance to the hospital there in Maui. Mm-hmm. And I spent a couple of weeks in Maui and had a surgery there. And like I said, paralyzed. I was on a ventilator. And then my wife flew me to the mainland. And I got to California, had another surgery in Pleasanton, and spent another couple weeks there. And then I spent 3.5 months at Santa Clara Valley Medical Center in San Jose. trying to see what this new life was going to bring me.
Yeah. And what did the traditional sort of medicine told you about your situation?
They said it was pretty grim. And they said that, I needed to learn to live in a wheelchair, and I was probably going to need to have caregivers, to help me dress myself, feed myself, the normal necessities.
Right.
And that I was never going to walk again.
Wow.
And so, I was a relatively young man at that time.
Yeah,
I was 31 when I got hurt.
Right.
And I just couldn't believe that.
Yes.
I'm a strong-willed individual anyways, but I just couldn't believe that. And so I figured I had time to accept that diagnosis later on. But early on, I figured I had time to see if there was something more I could do. And so with that, after I was getting close to being discharged from the hospital, we started to search out places in California, in the country, to go that might be experimental or something different than traditional type therapies, to see if I could try to regain some function. I got out of the hospital, and 3 days later, my wife and we picked up and we moved. We lived in Danville, and we picked up and moved to Southern California. We lived in San Diego, and
So at that time, were you able to sort of, you were kind of, what was the situation? You were bedridden, or you were?
I was in a wheelchair. I could move my arms a little bit, nothing on the hands or fingers. Legs, I couldn't walk, couldn't stand. I needed help transferring in and out of my wheelchair, into the bed, out of the bed.
Right.
I was relied on my wife 100%. I remember vividly when I got discharged before we moved. I was eating at my parents' house. I think the night before we left, and I couldn't lift a glass to drink out of it. They had to put a straw in it, and my wife held it up for me. And it's funny that I just remembered that, but it was rough.
And then when you went to San Diego, then what happened?
It just seemed like there was some non-traditional type places in San Diego that I could try out.
Okay.
And then there was other places in the country as well. And so I was lucky, I was fortunate that I worked hard up to that point.
Yeah.
And that I could afford to go to some of these places.
Right.
And so that's what my job was now, is to try to get better.
Yeah.
And so I went to 3 or 4 different places down there, and kind of took from those places the things that I liked that would seem to be working, and then kind of got rid of the stuff that I thought wasn't working for me, and kind of tailored a program. And I went to one place down there a lot. I went there 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, and that's where I met my now partner, Jerry.
Yeah.
Jerry and I have known each other a long time. He's my business partner, my friend, but he's family.
Right.
And Jerry was instrumental in getting me, a program that seemed to work for me to try to, get back some of the stuff I lost. And I worked hard.
Yeah.
And I worked for 3 years, 5-6 days a week at it.
Right.
And with a lot of hard work and luck and some grace from somebody upstairs looking down on me, I was able to walk out of that center 3 years later.
Wow.
And through my experience, I realized with other people because I was working out side by side with people who maybe were recovering quicker than me, and some who were not recovering as quick as me. And so I got to see all sides. Right. And it kind of dawned on me that if I didn't move down there and try this, I don't know what my ability would have been if I would have just taken that initial diagnosis and lived with that. Yes. I don't know where I would have been at.
Yeah.
And so I realized pretty quick I wanted to do something up in the San Francisco Bay Area. I grew up here.
Yeah.
I went to school here. I love the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something up here. And so as I formalized that, I started talking to Jerry about it. Jerry lived in San Diego. He was willing to uproot his life and take this journey with me. And so back in 2007, we started Sci-Fit, and at a small little location in Pleasanton, and it has grown tremendously over the last 12 years, and we help thousands of people. We have over the last 12 years, and so that's a little bit of how we kind of got here.
This is truly amazing because there are a couple of lessons I can clearly see. One, that never give up, and things can go wrong. Anybody can, like you were vacationing, you were having a fun time, great time out there, and all of a sudden, disaster happened in terms of like severe injury. So anything can happen, and listeners listening, we all have different days, and it can be a cloudy day, but we should never give up because you never know. It could be tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. We can have a bright, sunny, beautiful day in terms of our life. So it's having hope and never giving up and keep on trying. And then if there is a right will, we can make it happen. And that's what you have done. And not only that, why I think I find this very inspiring, you not only took that to get yourself better, and now it's great to see you walking. So that's one part for you and for your family, which is awesome. But you took it way beyond that. You decided that, okay, I got this benefit, and Jerry is an expert. You just formed a team, and then you just decided that you will serve the people. You will help others who may not be that fortunate, to give them the chance to get better. I
felt lucky.
Yeah.
To get another chance, and I know this is radio, and you people can't see me, but I didn't walk in here, as I did before my accident.
Right.
I walked in here with 2 canes, and I have walked on those same two canes all this time,
right?
And that is probably where I will walk the rest of my life, is on those 2 canes. But if I would have not explored some avenues,
yes.
I don't know if I would have had the opportunity to walk into this studio on those 2 canes like I did. And so I do have some collateral damage from my accident, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I feel lucky and fortunate, to be where I'm at.
Exactly, and I think all this, like, we are grateful. You mentioned lucky, but it's like your hard work, but always there is luck if we are trying to get things done. You took an effort, and then you got the help. You
mentioned, too, that, accidents or whatever, as we get older, things happen in life.
Yeah.
That's why we call it life. Things happen.
Right.
And so if it's an accident or an illness, what have you, we have to face it.
Yes.
And we have to try to overcome it.
Yeah, yeah. This is truly, amazing and very inspiring. So, Jerry, why don't you now talk about all the technical details in terms of, like, the injuries? You can take an example of Dan, or you can pick any other example. Or, what I would like to get out of you is, like, people, especially our seniors listening, they can relate to some of the things that they may be facing, or even their loved ones. They get to know that, okay, this is the situation they are dealing with. How can they get the benefit of coming to Sci-Fit? So you can give your background and then explain what really you do and how you are different.
Sure. I can probably touch a little bit about our program and kind of what we buy into and what we believe into to really help people recover from their serious injuries. So a little bit about my background. I started working with SCI and neuropopulation back in 2003, and have spent the last 16 years really just kind of diving into the neuropopulation. And I feel very fortunate to have met Dan. He gave me a platform to be able to help create our program on a lot of stuff that I know is beneficial for all of our clients. And so I can touch a little bit about our program and kind of the stuff that we buy into, but a lot of our program is really based off of 5 main principles. How we mash those up for each individual person is going to vary based on specific needs. Just like, if I was working with you, AJ, I would train you very differently based off of your needs versus me training with Dan. But in that being is our program is based off of doing some locomotor training or gait training or overground ambulation. A lot of our clients are in wheelchairs or have issues with gait and ambulatory issues. So we definitely work on working on gait and walking. Some of those things, how we do that with a lot of people is we have some really specialized pieces of equipment at our center. Some of the equipment you're not going to find anywhere else in the entire country. I feel very fortunate for Dan being my business partner. I think in the past 12 years we have over $1 million worth of equipment in our Pleasanton location. But one of those specialized pieces of equipment is called the Locomat. And basically what that is a robotic gait training system. What it does is it allows us to put a parachute harness on clients, and then it has robotic orthosis that will help clients be able to take perfect steps and perfect gait pattern. With that being said, that piece of equipment runs $250,000 to $380,000. So it's a piece of equipment that you're not going to find at any traditional hospital here in the Bay Area. So I feel very fortunate for us to have that piece of equipment, because what it does is it allows us to get practically 90% of our population up and taking steps. And if we're talking about neuroplasticity and retraining the nervous system, this allows us to get a lot of repetition in a short amount of time. In addition to that, I recently went to Fraser Neuro Rehab in Louisville and was trained on this program called the NRN, the Neuro Recovery Network, which is based off of what the Christopher and Dana Reeves Foundation has found as the gold standard of locomotor training and gait training. We have the same device that they're using. It's called the RoboMedica. And basically what this device does is has the ability to be able to spin someone in the air and then basically have trainers assist with the stepping pattern. What's really cool about utilizing the NRN, they have over 20 years of experience of documenting and researching their way of gait training, which is really focused in on kind of four main factors, kind of five, I guess. One is trying to replicate normal walking speeds at 2 to 3 miles an hour, trying to promote proper kinematics. Just it's a fancy word for better body position and moving the same way that you would do prior to your injury. And then focusing on eliminating compensatory strategies. If we have clients utilizing their arms and walkers or pushing down, they're not using their legs as much. And then, giving proper sensory cues in the stepping pattern, which basically means cueing the medial hamstring, cueing the patella tendon and the TA, which is just fancy words for where I put my hands to be able to elicit a response into a client's legs to be able to get a muscle contraction. So the way that they're doing it, basically the thought process behind it is what they're trying to do is stimulate what's called a central pattern generator, which is at L1, L2, L3, S1, basically that your spine has its own brain, not your brain and your spinal cord is the only way for your body to be able to communicate. They're saying, hey, if I'm able to replicate normal walking patterns with as much weight coming down, I'm able to get an excitatory response out of the central pattern generator and promote recovery, which is it's awesome, right? So basically, we're turning over every single stone to be able to help our clients recover, right? This isn't just a gym where people go in just to exercise, but this is a very much a recovery based program. In addition to that, we also have a couple of other gait training devices that we use in the center. Beyond those, but those are two of kind of the gold standard of gait training and locomotor training. The next part of our program, we buy into what's called load bearing. Like I said, a lot of our clients are seated in wheelchairs, so our goal is to get them out of their chair, getting an axial load going through their skeletal system, basically just a version of standing, right? So we have several standing frames that have hydraulic lift systems that will get people up standing, which help out with blood flow circulation, help out with maintenance of bone density. Also, if you can imagine, if you're sitting down all the time, there's a lot of bowel and bladder issues. So this helps get things moving around as well. But we also have vibration platforms that's specific to neurological disorders. It helps generate the stretch reflex. It actually helps increase bone density because, as you can imagine, sitting in a wheelchair, we're at higher risk for osteoporosis, osteopenia. And so we have a lot of great tools to get that kind of load-bearing component in. In addition to that, we have 4 FES bikes, which is just a word for functional electrical stimulation. What's great about those is it uses a special type of electrical stimulation called NMES, neuromuscular electrical stimulation. Basically what that does is it forces the muscle to contract, hypertrophies the muscle, and makes it bigger and stronger. Also, in addition to making it bigger and stronger, you think you're at less risk for skin breakdown. If we're sitting down all the time, bones tend to kind of rub over different areas, and if the muscles aren't rigid and strong, we're at higher risk for skin breakdown. In addition to that, it also, when it does fire the muscle, it pulls it away from the bone, helps stimulate bone growth, increase blood flow and circulation. And what I think is really, really great is I can ask clients to do particular movement patterns, but this is going to force that muscle to fire and do what I'm not able to potentially ask that client to be able to do. The next part of our program is functional exercises, and functional for me is just purposeful training, right? So anytime that I can add balance, proprioception, mind-body connection, but also get them out of their chair so where I can do that, not just do activities inside the chair or training inside the chair. We try to do it outside of there to give them the opportunity to be able to increase strength any way that we possibly can. And in a subcategory of that falls into an area that I really believe in is the developmental movement patterns, which is basically all the things that babies would go through during the early stages of development, crawling, rolling, kneeling, creeping, split kneeling, till we're standing, walking, running. We're going to try to get those types of activities with people with kind of, in a sense of way of kind of doing natural isolation instead of like, hey, I just need to do a bicep curl. I can have you on your hands and knees, crawling, and, you're engaging your core, hip flexors, loading through your shoulders, so it becomes very much a full body activity. And it kind of falls into play with a lot of the activities of daily living, right? So, like, hey, I need clients to be able to roll over in bed so their wife's not having to roll them over. And you think even something as simple as being able to roll over could change the scope of someone's entire life, right?
Yeah.
Or if someone falls on the ground, can they crawl to a position where they can get into a split kneeling position so they can stand up and sit back down?
Good. So if I can just put it in a very layman term, essentially, when a situation happens, severe injury and all that, what you're kind of cheating the system of the body in the sense that body gets used to in a position and they don't move it, or they cannot move, they cannot stand, so they use help, and then their whole posture to everything changes. So first of all, you provide the support so that it will be like, as you simulate, like as if the person has no injury, how that person will walk using the equipment and tools. And then essentially when the pattern is formed and the habit is formed, the body, the neurosignals and all that help to kind of perfect that as much as it can, and the person can be as normal as possible based on, of course, it varies on the situation. Sure. But is that a good way to kind of summarize in 30 seconds?
I'll summarize it even quicker than that.
Okay.
Movement breeds movement. The more movement I'm able to get with someone, the better off they're going to be. So anything that I can do to get movement out of the person, the better off they're going to be. We just have a lot of tools and technology and manpower to be able to help facilitate that.
Awesome. And some of these machines and all that you're talking about, from where you get these?
So they range from all over. So, we have a hand device that's from Austria. One of our gait training systems is it's made in Switzerland. The FES bike companies out of Baltimore, Maryland. So it's all over. And so, like I'd said, Dan and I, we've done a really good job of kind of scouring the globe and trying to find like the best tools to be able to help our clients improve and have them in all of our locations. So not just only our Pleasanton location, but also our Sacramento location and our Fresno location basically have all of the same equipment and staff that kind of buys into the same philosophy that we have in Pleasanton.
So in terms of who should be contacting your organization, and what is a good time for them to contact you?
So you want to go ahead?
Doesn't matter. Go ahead. Who should be contacting us? We started with spinal cord injuries, but a few months after we opened, we realized that we needed to open up to more the neuro population. So we treat people with strokes.
Okay.
Large population of our clientele is people who've been affected by a stroke, people with MS.
And I'd even go even further than that. Even at the aging population, right? There's a lot of neurological or activities that they're struggling with, and so for me, the thing that I'll take anybody that wants to work hard, that wants to try to do stuff that's safe and makes sense, and if it's someone that comes to me and say, "Hey, I just need some assistance to improve activities of daily living. Can we do something like that to be able to do stuff that's safe and makes sense?" and they want to work hard and buy into the program, I would recommend those people to do it. But the best way to contact us is through our website. You can get a lot of good information on our website. But in addition to that, we do free evaluations. So anybody that's thinking about coming to participate in our program, we do free evaluations. It's 2 hours long. But our website is www.sci-fit.org. On there's an online application form, and so you would fill out the online application
Very
form.
good. Excellent. So before we wrap up, is there any tip or suggestions that you would like to give to our, especially to our elderly population out there related to health that they can make use of?
Yeah, I think I'd just touch base on as much movement as they could possibly get at home that's safe for them. Even if it's doing small little exercise walks where we're walking 20 to 50 feet, taking a break, doing that several times a day, doing sit-to-stands from the couch or the corner would be great as well.
Excellent.
So I think anything would be great for them.
Really. So listeners, this has been awesome. I mean, this is something which is totally different. You will not find something of this nature anywhere else. So please make use of it if you have any of the symptoms or situations that Jerry and Dan mentioned today. So I really appreciate and thanks a lot for providing this information to our listeners.
Thanks for having
AJ.
us.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us on Aging by the Bay today. Thank you to our sponsor, A Love for Seniors, as this show provides information that helps our seniors age better. Please visit our sponsor's website, www.aloveforseniors.com. We hope that you enjoyed the show, and please subscribe to our podcast that is available at iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and YouTube. You can find this show and also previous shows at our website, agingbythebay.com. We love your feedback, and so please leave your comments. If you have any question for our featured guests or want to become a featured guest, please contact us by sending an email at info@agingbythebay.com. Again, a big thank you to our sponsors, A Love for Seniors, and to ComForCare Home Care. This has been an Aging by the Bay show, addressing issues on aging and services available for our elderly population. We will be back next Saturday, same time. Until then, take care and have fun. Be safe.
This has been Aging by the Bay with Ajay Saini, addressing issues on aging and services for the elderly community. Brought to you by A Place for Seniors and ComForCare Home Care. Join us again next week for Aging by the Bay.